Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhammad Ali Khan Clement John, and this is channel CQ97. In lecture 1, I spoke of irony as being an element of style in The Reluctant Fundamentalist. In this lecture, I'll speak about irony and I will initially take a broader look at it and then I'll narrow down and bring it down to the novel in question and discuss as to where irony is to be found in the novel, The Reluctant Fundamentalist. First of all, let's look at let us look at the simplest definition of irony. Irony is saying something contrary to its face value. It is understood by context. Then the types. If you Google irony, you will get a lot of results, and they're all okay in their own right, but they're usually dispersed all over the place. So here I have tried to consolidate them in one list. And I'll tell you why you find them dispersed all over the place. But first of all, there is cosmic irony. You must have heard about it from other people with different names, and let's go into those. We have the irony of situation. It's also called the irony of situation. Cosmic irony is also called the irony of existence, and perhaps the commonest name that it has been given is the irony of fate. Now, to give you an example of this, and I'll give you an anecdote, what really happened once. In my city, a very, very tall building was being constructed, and a laborer happened to fall from one of the highest floors. He fell all the way down to the ground, but he fell on a heap of gravel. And he survived. Not only did he survive, he wasn't even hurt. So all of his colleagues got around and they said that you owe us a box of sweets because you have been spared a very painful death. So he went out to get a box of sweets, and as he was crossing the road, he was run over by a tractor and he died right there. Now, this situation actually, and remember that one of the names, the types is irony of situation. So keep the situation in mind. He fell from a great height, nothing happened to him. He was crossing the road and he was run over by a tractor. Why is it called the irony of existence? Because this is human existence, which we do not understand. So therefore, when something like this happens, it can be called the irony of existence, it can be called the irony of situation, and of course, fate, a very common word that every one of us uses, that it is also called the irony of fate. This is the most common name that it is given. But books actually give it another name, and that is cosmic irony. So there you are. All this you might find spread all over the place. This cosmic irony, irony of situation, irony of existence, irony of fate. There are 4 of these. They're all the same thing. Next on the list is literary irony. The subtypes of literary irony are artistic irony, irony as a trope, or even irony as rhetoric, and verbal irony. Well, first of all, let's look at artistic irony. This is when the writer appears to be taking a deliberately detached attitude towards the narrative. It seems to the reader that the writer does not have much of an emotional attachment with the narrative. And this type of irony is the one which we encounter the most in the style of The Reluctant Fundamentalist. We'll go into the details of this when we discuss the themes of the novel. Oh, by the way, if you are finding this material useful, then press the like button, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so that whenever I upload a lecture, you are duly notified. Now back to this lecture. Irony as a trope. What is a trope? A trope is actually a symbol or a metaphor which has been used to a great extent but has not lost its power. We actually see this a lot on social media. What are usually known as memes are actually tropes. And rhetoric is where a speaker or even a writer uses certain expressions in order to lend power to the speech or to the writing. This is not what we find in the reluctant fundamentalist, but we find the next one, certainly, which is verbal irony. Now, verbal irony, again, itself has its own subtypes. In fact, let me put it this way, that verbal irony is also known as poetic irony because there is a play of words, and metaphor and metonymy fall within the category of poetic irony, or let us call it the category of verbal irony. These are the types of literary irony, and then we come to dramatic or tragic irony. As you can see, I do not have any subtypes over here. But this is probably the most important as far as irony is concerned, because this is a situation or a condition in the story where the character does not know what is going to happen to her or to him, but the audience or the reader knows. A very quick example I can give you is that if in a play or a story, we as readers or as viewers of the play know that a certain character is being awaited by a killer outside, and when that character goes out, he or she will certainly be killed. And before leaving that company, that character just announces to everyone, okay, I'm leaving, I'm going. As far as that character is concerned, he or she just knows that they are leaving that gathering. But we as readers or as viewers know that that person is not just leaving, that person is just leaving this world for good. They're going to die. That condition in a story is called a dramatic irony, and it's also called tragic irony. Then the last type that we have is known as Maieutic irony, and it's also given the name of Socratic irony. Now, what is that? Well, as you can see, the word Socratic is there, it's concerned with Socrates. What is associated with Socrates is that he taught youth, not by telling them things, but by putting questions to them. This, in fact, is a very effective way of teaching. A very simple example that I could give you. In a young class, a teacher comes to the classroom and asks the students, okay, students, tell me, what is the day today? Now, the teacher knows what the day is, but it's a way of making the students to think about it. This is also known as Maieutic irony because Maieutic is from a Greek word which means midwife, a person who assists in childbirth. So in this case, this is irony which assists in the gaining of knowledge. You have now the types of irony in front of you. And as I said before, they've got so many different names that they can be confusing. I would tell you to just keep this in mind, that irony is cosmic, literary, dramatic, or Socratic. Then the subtypes, you can always go back and refer to this video. Thank you, and I'll be seeing you in the next lecture.